Senator Obama has been a member of the same church in Chicago for 20 years, where his pastor has been Reverend Jeremiah Wright, the man who performed the Obama's marriage ceremony, and the man Obama credits for the title of his book, The Audacity of Hope. Reverend Wright has built a large and loyal following at his church, the Trinity United Church of Christ, on Chicago's South Side. With a powerful voice and his strong words, Reverend Wright can be a mesmerizing presence.
The angels in heaven were singing, God never fails.
And he often uses the gospel to affirm his strong political views, as in this 2003 sermon, damning the United States for its treatment of blacks.
The government gives them the drugs, builds bigger prisons, passes a 3-strike law, and then wants us to sing God Bless America? No, no, no. Not God Bless America. God damn America. That's in the Bible for killing innocent people. God damn America for treating us citizens as less than human.
It's not known if Senator Obama was in the church on this day, but he has sought to play down Reverend Wright's overall approach.
I don't think that my church is actually particularly controversial.
During the campaign, the senator has defended what he calls Reverend Wright's social gospel.
So he was one of the leaders in calling for divestment from South Africa and some other issues like that. And he thinks it's important for us to focus on what's happening in Africa. And I agree with him on that.
But an ABC News review of more than a dozen sermons, which are offered for sale by the church, found Reverend Wright going far beyond issues of Africa. He refers to the U.S. as under the influence of the Ku Klux Klan.
And they will not only attack you if you try to point out what's going on in white America, U.S. of KKKA.
He regularly mocks black Republicans as sellouts.
They live below the sea level. They live below the level of Clarence Colin and condemnesia.
In his first sermon after September 11, 2001, Reverend Wright said the U.S. had brought on the attacks with its own terrorism.
We bombed Hiroshima, we bombed Nagasaki, and we nuked far more than the thousands in New York and the Pentagon, and we never batted an eye. We have supported state terrorism against the Palestinians and black South Africans, and now we are indignant because the stuff we have done overseas is now brought right back into our own front yards. America's chickens are coming home to roost.
Reverend Wright retired last month, but members of the church say he left a lasting impression on them and Senator Obama.
He spoke the truth, continues to speak the truth, and people can label that as radical, but I think it's insightful.
No, I wouldn't call it radical. I'd call it being black in America. It's not radical. How radical is that?
Shalom, welcome to the Jewish Task Force, JTF. My name is Chaim Ben Pesach. This program is dedicated to elevating the soul of Sharon Williams. I have a question for those of you who want to decide how to vote in the election this November between Barack Obama and Mitt Romney. Barack Hussein Obama, for 20 years, attended a church led by Jeremiah Wright that, among other things, said, God damn America, cursed America and said, God damn America, that praised the slaughter of 3,000 Americans on 9/11, said the chickens have come home to roost and America's just getting what she deserves. A church that said that the very word Israel is a dirty word. A church filled with the most vicious racism against whites and anti-Semitism. A church that honored Louis Farrakhan, that marched with Louis Farrakhan, honored Louis Farrakhan, went on joint trips with Louis Farrakhan. Louis Farrakhan, who has said that Hitler was a great man, Judaism is a gutter religion, all whites are devils, the entire white race is going to be exterminated by Allah. He's called for genocide against whites in general and Jews in particular. Again, saying that he likes when the Jews compare him to Hitler because, in his view, because he said, and I quote, Hitler was a great man. Hitler was a very great man. Now, that was the church that Barack Hussein Obama attended for 20 years. It's the church that he gave tens of thousands of dollars out of his own pocket His charitable contributions every year went to that church. Almost all of his charitable contributions from him and from Michelle Obama went to that church. He wrote in his books about his tremendous admiration and love for Jeremiah Wright and for what Jeremiah Wright was preaching. And Jeremiah Wright was well known for many years for his anti-white racism and his anti-Semitism. That is the true Obama. The Obama that went to that church for 20 years, that gave money to that church for 20 years. The Obama that went to Louis Farrakhan's Million Man March. Barack Hussein Obama traveled all the way from Chicago to Washington to attend Farrakhan's Nazi march. Farrakhan, again, who says all whites are going to be exterminated, the entire white race is the devil. Whites are all devils, and all whites must be exterminated. Farrakhan teaches that an evil scientist named Yaqub created the white race in a test tube. I mean, just madness, complete insanity. And Obama so admired Farrakhan's Nazi hate-mongering that he went all the way from Chicago to Washington to attend Farrakhan's rally. Now, what if the Republican candidate for president had done something similar? What if the Republican candidate for president had been a member of a Ku Klux Klan church for 20 years, or a white supremacist church for 20 years? Would that have been made an issue? Would he have been able to get elected president? He wouldn't have been able to get elected president, and rightfully so. And rightfully so, because someone who does that, whether it's white racism or black racism, someone who is part of something like that should not be allowed to be elected president. Someone who's a member of the Klan or the Nazis or some evil group like that, or who is associated with that, should never be allowed to go near the office of the presidency. Or if he attended Nazi rallies or Klan rallies, can you imagine if a white Republican had done that? Would he be taken seriously as a candidate for president? Are you kidding? Now, here's my question. Barack Hussein Obama has already said, he was caught on a live mic. He didn't know the mic was on, but he said on a live mic, we're going to be showing clips of this in future videos, he said to the Russian president, after I'm reelected, I'm going to have more flexibility. In other words, when I'm reelected and I don't have to face the voters again, I'm going to be able to give Russia what she wants at the expense of American national security. That's what he was promising our Russian enemies. And Obama made the same promise to the Egyptian foreign minister. The Egyptian foreign minister said on Nile television, on Egyptian television, that Obama told him that he's a Muslim. Obama said to him, I'm secretly a Muslim, and after the election, once I'm reelected, I'm going to begin my campaign against Israel, and I'm going to begin to push for an Islamic agenda. In other words, the real Obama will come out once he doesn't have to face the voters again. Now, I don't know if he's going to come out and say, hey, I fooled all of you, I'm really a Muslim. He won't have to do that. I don't think he would do that. That would be foolish, because then he'd get a lot of resistance. But what he will do is aggressively push an Islamic agenda and a socialistic agenda far more aggressively even than he's done in his first term. And in his first term, he's been doing it pretty aggressively already. But he's going to do it far more aggressively. And the commander-in-chief of the United States of America, the world's last remaining superpower, is an extremely powerful person. He does not need the approval of Congress to do most of what he wants to do in foreign affairs, for instance. He could do unbelievably damaging things in the foreign arena that could have devastating effects on the course of world history in order to advance the cause of his Muslim brothers and in order to advance the hateful ideology that was always the real Barack Hussein Obama. Do you really want this individual to be re-elected to a second term where he'll never have to face the voters again, where the real Barack Hussein Obama will come out? Do you want Jeremiah Wright and Al Sharpton and Louis Farrakhan and their ideology controlling the United States of America? Because that really is what will happen if Obama's re-elected. He will use the power of the office of the presidency in order to pursue policies that will be devastating for the United States, for Israel, and for the Western world. He will brutally pressure little Israel to commit national suicide. He will make concessions to the Russians and other enemies, and Communist China and other enemies of the United States, on a scale that will forever endanger American national security and even American survival. He will, through executive fiat, open our borders completely to third world and Muslim immigrants coming and flooding into the United States. We will face an unprecedented catastrophe if he is reelected to a second term. He'll never have to worry about the voters again, and he will have the full powers of the office of the presidency to pursue his policies. And if anyone criticizes him or his policies, you know what they're going to say. They're going to say, if you criticize Obama, you're a racist. When in reality, the opposite is true. The real racist is Obama and his supporters, Al Sharpton, Louis Farrakhan, Jeremiah Wright. Those are the racists. But if anybody stands against the true racists, they call those of us that are saying enough of this hatred and enough of your racism and anti-Semitism, they call us racists. It's the Orwellian ultimate example of a world gone mad and a world turned upside down, and it'll be much worse if, God forbid, Obama's reelected. That's why we need to expose this and wake the American people up. The vast majority of Americans will not vote for a Muslim if they knew that he was a Muslim, and he is a Muslim. The vast majority of Americans would not vote for him if they knew the real truth about him. But the Republicans and Mitt Romney, as much as we have to support Mitt Romney because he's the only alternative now, unfortunately, they're afraid to say politically incorrect things. We still have to support them, even though we're annoyed that they're not saying the politically incorrect things. We still have to support them. But if they won't tell the real politically incorrect truth about Obama, then we have to. If you understand that, and if you are concerned, as you should be, if you have an ounce of sanity about the future of the United States, of Israel, of Western civilization, of the world, in the hands of Obama in a second term when he doesn't have to face the voters again, if you're very concerned about this, then you have to join our forum and join our movement so that together we can expose Obama, defeat him for re-election, and save the world from a terrible catastrophe. The link to join our forum is below. You don't have to be Jewish to join the JTF forum. About half of our members are not Jewish. Hope to see you on the forum. Shalom.